Hey, welcome back. We're almost done with this level. So with our shooter prototype here turned on, I'm going to add something here. We're supposed to have a sort of statue. At least that's what our prototype was looking like. So let's go to Paragon Props and go to the ruins and meshes, and we're just going to add a statue and probably some trim, some banisters and things just to make this look a little bit more complete. So for a statue, let's scroll all the way down here, and it looks like there's a mono statue and mono statue base. Why don't we bring these in? So there's the base. I'm going to hit end to put it down onto the floor, and I'm going to bring this mono statue right onto it, like that. And now we have this cool looking statue, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate it so that it's facing this way. Okay, and we can sort of center it onto the base if we want to. That's probably a good idea. So I'm going to roughly center it. I'm not really too picky about how this looks. It already looks pretty amazing. So I'm just going to put it there. And it looks like the whole thing is going to levitate, so that's going to look pretty good. Okay, so that is going to be the statue for the courtyard, and we can also place other things in here. We've got lots of different ruins and pieces of rubble. I believe there actually is a jungle rubble pile, so we can like bring that in and stick that right there. So that's looking pretty good. We can also add just random bricks laying around as well. For example, here's a large pillar that's broken, and all of these bricks are sort of this brick style, so we can just like place a few broken bricks around, and they don't even have to be perfectly aligned. So, you know, this is just touching up the level at this point. We can even leave some of them half in the ground like that. We can also come up to the walls here and ungroup them and take individual pieces, turn off snapping, and sort of rotate them a bit. That's going to give these a bit of a more imperfect look. We don't want to go too overboard with this, but that's going to help us to make things look a little bit more flawed. So just go ungroup things and rotate a little. Now in the monolith folder, there's also rocks, and in this rocks folder, we got some rocks and boulders and things. So we can also bring some of these in and just kind of stick them in the corners and things. So I'm going to bring in one of these. So here's this big rock kind of boulder thing, and we can sort of just place that here in the corner. Now it looks like it doesn't have a back, so we do need to stick it in the corner and hide that fact. So let's go ahead and rotate this and just stick it right up against the corner here. There we go. Bring it down a bit and just hide any missing edges. There we go. So that looks good. And of course we're going to keep turning off the shooter grid prototype just to make sure that we're not missing anything like this edge here. So we're going to have to bring that in a bit more just to make that hidden enough. And then we've got these small rocks as well. So let's bring in another rock. And this one here is actually a really tiny little rock. I'm going to scale it up, and it looks like it's at least a whole rock. So we can go ahead and just place this rock just any place that we want, and drag in rocks randomly and just place them at different locations. So there's another rock. So sometimes less is more with these things. You don't have to really go too overboard when it comes to the rocks and boulders. You know, just one or two here and there can make a huge difference. So here, one off to the side into the corner here. In fact, we might want to put it just somewhere out of the way because there might be ammo or weapons, and you don't want the rock to sort of distract from that. So we'll just stick it in the corner there. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. So what I'd like to do is save this level. So first I'm going to click Save All. And we've got this current level saved in our prototype folder. So here's our prototypes folder, and we called this Shooter Prototype. And it has the geometry from our Super Grid Starter Pack. Now what I'd like to do is delete that, but I don't want to lose it. So I'm going to save this as a new map. So I'm going to go to File, Save Current As, and I'm going to put this in the Prototypes folder. And instead of Shooter Prototype, I'm going to give this a name like Shooter Temple and save. And I'm actually going to call this Shooter Temple with Grid. And that way we have this extra level with the grid, and then we have our shooter prototype. And in our shooter prototype, I'm going to delete the grid. So with super typed into the world outliner, we have these super grid box objects. I'm going to take every super grid box, select it, and delete it. And that leaves us here with just the geometry of the level. Now if we right click and play from here, now we have only the ruins assets, and that's going to look more like it's supposed to look in the level. So this is actually looking pretty good. I know I mentioned I wanted some trim here to prevent us from jumping down, but you know what? I think I'm okay with how it is. You know, of course, on your level, you can make it look however you want. But yeah, I think this is actually looking pretty darn cool. I think this is going to work for our purposes. So we have a shooter prototype and a shooter temple with grid. I'm going to rename shooter prototype to shooter temple level. And now we're ready to actually place some enemies in this level and see how gameplay feels here. So we'll start with that in the next level. Great job. I'll see you very soon.